If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
The blah blah blah.
Sending out good vibes.
The blah blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
The blah blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
America.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Great America Show. Coming at you this week with Judith Corvin-Blackburn, is it?
Yep.
And talking about the 6D Ascension, which is apparently different from Trump's 5D chess. Different sport, different dimensions, different board. I don't know. But it's an interesting chat. If you want to skip ahead, you can always do that. There's a timestamp in the show notes. Although you shouldn't. I mean, Merry Christmas. We'll play the Christmas song at the end of this one if you haven't heard it already. If you're one of the new people, Felix's, was it Great Merry Christmas?
Great Merry Christmas. Yeah, that's good.
Once a year with the Great Merry Christmas. So Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah or Festivus or what's the one the blacks do? Kwanzaa. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy whatever it is. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I'd love to know what people think of this episode, especially when we get into freedom in the environment and stuff. It gets interesting towards the end of it. Kind of gets out of we sort of go on a bit of a tangent from the 6D Ascension stuff. I mean, I really do think there's some common ground there with visualizing the planet, the culture that we want. I think that's really good advice. Maybe that's the thing where we can all come together, is because a lot of us might want some similar things there. But
in the Pax Judaeus Society,
Judaica,
Pax Judaica, is that what it was? That's what it was.
I think that's what it was. I mean,
I'm enjoying Pax Americana. I think we should roll this one a while longer. Anyway, it's fun chat.
We're talking about our roundup that we had a couple days ago. If you want to hear some crazy stuff that we talk about, go to Great America Outlawed. We have a really good roundup come out. Man, we went 2 hours and 15 minutes. I think that was a long one.
They're getting longer. You can see them on the Great America YouTube channel as well.
Right.
We stream it there too. But yeah, it's they're fun. If you like the intros, especially. If you like the intros, you'll definitely like the roundup. So check it out. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you're up to for Christmas, and what you're doing, where you're going. Send us some stuff. Email him some stuff. He's lonely.
Yeah, email me. Yeah.
He's bored. Send him some hate mail, if nothing else. Tell him why we suck. But seriously, Merry Christmas. Thanks, guys. We love you. We got. I guess we still have one more show to come out this year, though. There'll still be one more. Frank will come out next week, right?
Yeah.
On the 30th. So not the last show of the year, last show before Christmas, though. So.
Seems like a lot of people are talking about the year-end stuff already, though. Does it usually happen this early, or? Yeah, I mean, we still have over a week away from New Year's Eve, but does it usually happen early?
Yeah, I think so. I think people want to get it all done early so that they can just
chill out for a week or something. Or?
Chill out, yeah, which is nice to do, I guess.
Yeah,
I'll probably go hunting on Christmas.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's the kids aren't here this year. They're with their mom, so they'll be back. I mean, I could have got them back earlier, but I was like, well, there's no point in rushing them back and breaking the schedule. Everyone's a little older now, so they'll just come back on their regular day on Monday, and then we'll do Christmas on Tuesday.
Yeah, do your own, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Which would be the 30th, yeah, and then New Year's is right there too, so it'll be a nice festive little week of doing stuff. But I went out with Miles the other day, and it was cold. You know, it was minus 12, minus 15 Celsius when I shot that. I've done duck hunting in that. It was about that when I shot that. When me and Sean shot that last deer. I shot some deer around minus 15, minus 16 last year, but we went out and it was about minus 22.
Yeah, that's too much. Anything past minus 15 or 20 is just too much.
Yeah, there was a real difference in those, like that 5 degrees, man. It was just like you got out of the truck and you're walking around, and I was like, this is just.
It's a little too brisk, yeah. Because then your feet and your hands start getting cold to the point where it's like,
and then it's like you got to try and deal with a dead animal in this sort of weather. We did see some moose, so many antelope. The antelope,
really?
Yeah,
Did
the
you shoot
antelope.
one?
No,
Oh.
no, the moose was a cow and a calf, so got to respect the cow moose, buddy. But especially if it's got a calf, because if you shoot either of them, you know, it's just. It could get weird. One might not leave, or.
Oh man! Oh yeah.
And the good thing is the cows just keep having babies. You could just shoot the bulls, and some other bull will just come in there and start fucking the cows. But if you shoot the cows, then that's taking a moose out of the population. So. And the antelope just, it was just too cold. It's it's just, the thing is, you shoot that antelope, you got it out, and by the time you get back to the house with it, it's fucking frozen solid, literally frozen solid, because they're so small. There's not enough really to them to stop them from. So you're just racing against the clock when it's that cold. But what we noticed is all the growths were like, as soon as the sun started rising, all the growths were up in the tops of all these trees everywhere. Fucking must have seen 200 growths probably, and like 20 pheasants. Just like up in the tops of these trees in the morning, warming up on the sun, letting the sun warm them up before they start flying around.
Because I guess they get the sun earlier being up that high.
Yeah, and it's not obscured by any clouds or anything, and they sort of get the sun all around them. Then they're not still down on the cold ground or in the shade.
Huh.
But it seems to be a real phenomenon. But I didn't have, so I'm going to go out with Shauna on Christmas and bring my little plinker gun and see if I can just.
For that? What's a plinker gun?
It's like, mine's an HMR 17, but just like
I don't mean the model.
It's a small, it's a super small caliber. Good for shooting birds with. If I shot a bird,
you gotta aim them at them. You don't like do the shotgun blast. You're just aiming.
I could bring the shotgun. I'm gonna bring my shotgun too. But I mean, they're just sitting there up in the tree. It'll be fun with my scoped rifle.
So those are called those are uplands, are they, or up? What are they called?
There's a lot of grouse, partridge, and pheasant.
And that's a different category than the other ones, right?
Yeah, the migratories seem to be gone. It's too cold. They've moved on, but maybe get some upland hunting in for Christmas Day. Try not to work that day.
Nice.
What about you?
What about me?
What are you going to do?
Try not to work that day, too. It's hard because I just work every day, and it's okay. Like I'm happy with it. I'm just, you know what? I'm going to finish off. Then what I'll do is I'll finish off some renos here. I got some like painting, and I got to paint some doors, and you know what I mean? Like little stuff like that around here. Finish the drop ceiling in the bathroom. The plumbers have been in to do their final thing, so now I can sort of finish up the ceiling. And
what about the floor? Is the floor done?
The floor's done, yeah.
You just got.
I need to do some repairs to it, but yeah.
Some general puttering.
Yeah, there's lots of general puttering around. You know what I did buy? I bought a steam sauna from Costco.
Is that like the little one-man unit?
It comes with a tiny chair, and you sit in this like tent,
and your head sticks out the top.
No, it doesn't. It's small enough to fit you right in there. But I guess you put a steam kettle in there, and it's supposed to heat it up. And problem is, it's a bit big. It doesn't really fit anywhere, so I'm trying to figure out where to put it permanently. I need to rearrange some stuff, but I was thinking that might be good for the winter to have like a little bit of a hot steam kind of thing
instead of a bath.
Well, and then I was thinking, because the tent, I was thinking of making it red light and infrared as well. Put that in there, but then I probably can't do that at the same time as I'm steaming, because you probably don't want the water over the lighting. But I might be able to just swap it out and do red light, infrared, and or steam, or maybe like they're not expensive. I think it was $289 or $329 or something. I could probably buy, if I had room, I'd buy another one and do one for red light and infrared. Then you jump in the steam one, which is separate. You know, while the steam one is, maybe turn the steam one on while it's getting all hot and steamy. You go into the infrared and the red light, do that for 15 minutes, and then jump over to the steam one. That would be cool.
Does it come with all the stuff?
Well, it doesn't come with any lighting, but it comes with the kettle and the chair. And
All right, so you just need a little light for in there, and away you
pretty
go.
good deal. I mean, you just basically put it together like a tent, and it just sits up like a big rectangle like thing.
It doesn't fit anywhere. Can't even just like.
Well, it fits in the new bathroom, but it's sort
It's
of
not. It's too big to just like tear down and set up. You want to kind of leave it set up.
yeah. It doesn't even fit through a doorway. Like you have to take it apart to get it through a doorway. So
Man,
it's easy to take apart. It's just
I might want one of those.
yeah.
That could be all right.
Because I think it's important to still sweat, and I haven't been like, besides playing hockey, which has really helped. But like I went through a bit of time there where I wasn't really active enough to sweat.
Do you think you sweat in the bathtub?
Yeah, probably a little.
I have pretty hot baths.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, probably a little bit. Yeah.
You just don't notice it. You think?
Well, I didn't notice it.
You notice that you're sweating while you're in the bathtub?
Yeah, I think so.
Really? How do you know?
Well, because my forehead's beating with sweat.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Your forehead and stuff gets all sweaty, so the rest of you probably is too. Or do you think it's?
But I don't know if it's like if your body's absorbing water as opposed to, because I put the salts in there and stuff, and I wonder if my body's absorbing instead of excreting. Right?
Yeah, I mean, this is a mystery. That's the real mystery. That's a mystery.
Speaking of mysteries, I mean, I have a clip. It's a bit. Well, I mean, it's not too long, but it's a bit long. It's a super synchro.
A super synchro?
Yeah.
A clip of a synchro?
It's a clip. I brought a clip because I've been saving it for the other show, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go back to like the old times when we used to talk about synchros on here.
So you're gonna play a clip and you're going to rate some super synchro.
Yeah, if you can, you can rate it if you want. You ready? Should I do it? You ready?
I'm ready.
Actually, so this is from the Unconventional Compass, but he's talking about Jonathan Pajau's symbolism happens theory, I guess. Hidden meaning plus examples. So, but Jonathan Pajau, I really wanted to have him on the show. He came across my radar, and I talked to you about him a while back, but it'd be great to have him on. But let's listen to this guy's, because this guy has this happen to him, but it's also to a professional football player. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Now let's take a look at how cosmic sympathy, the logos, played a role in my life.
Cosmic sympathy. It's kind of like synchronicity.
Logos.
And a famous NFL player's life, and how our roads somehow crossed.
316. 316's painted on your eye black.
Stop it for a sec.
But I wore it for the national.
Did you see he just had on Hunter Biden?
No, but I saw a meme. I guess Hunter Biden's in debt or something, $15 million in debt or something like that. Or
I think they did a 5-hour show or something.
wow. Did you listen to any of it?
I didn't listen to any of it. I've seen
You're
it.
talking about Sean Ryan. Then,
I've
right?
seen one clip of it that seemed to be equating Trump to be Epstein.
Wow. Interesting. So they're damage control by putting Hunter on Sean Ryan's show. Wow.
Guess
Okay.
so.
What? Seems
Okay.
like it. Well, I think this release isn't really doing the damage that they thought it's going to do. So they got to do something else.
Nothing burger.
So here's the this is the 316 example. Now 316 is a Bible verse. Let's hear
Remember
it.
wrestling? Did you watch wrestling?
I
Later
did one.
wrestling, like after 2000?
No.
No, I guess that'd be late 90s. Like
No.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No, I was before that.
Austin 316, that was his thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that what it was about?
I think Austin
Bible
316
verse?
was because Stone Cold said so. But it might have something to do with the Bible verse.
All right, let's hear what it says here.
Championship. I didn't really think about it. We're having dinner, and Coach Meyer gets a call, and he answers it, and it's Steve McLean, our PR guy. What do you mean? And you know this? Really? Okay, bye. So what did he say? He said, Timmy just got the numbers back from the game, and he said during the game, 94 million people Googled John 3:16. And then I was just sitting there overwhelmed by what a big God we serve. And exactly 3 years later, to the date I wore it, I was playing for the Denver Broncos, and we were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL.
Oh, so he had 316 on his jersey or something, and then they said 94 million people Googled John. So somebody looked at the Google results, and 94 million people Googled that John 316. Wow. Okay, so here he goes 3 years later.
Playoffs. It was on January 8th of 2012, exactly 3 years later. We win in overtime. I still think it's the fastest overtime in NFL history, and we win. It's a real moment, and it's just like, it's unbelievable. And the crowd stays for well over an hour after the game, going crazy. And right before I walk in this big room packed full of media, there's all these curtains out front, and I'm standing in front, and Patrick, our PR guy, there steps in front of me. He said, Timmy, do you realize what happened? And I'm like, yeah. We just beat the Steelers. We're going to play the Patriots. He's like, yeah, I know what happened, dude. He said, Timmy, no, you don't know what happened. Timmy, it's exactly 3 years from the night that you wore John 3:16 under your eyes. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's awesome. That's so cool. And he said, no, you don't realize it. Timmy, during the game, you threw for 316 yards. And I'm like, what? And he said, Timmy, during the game, your yards per rush were 3.16.
Stop it.
Yards per completion were 31.
Is this oh, wait, there's more? Okay, start it back up.
yeah, this is crazy. He's going through like how intense this is.
Awesome. That's so cool. And he said, no, you don't realize it. Timmy, during the game, you threw for 316 yards. And I'm like, what? And he said, Timmy, during the game, your yards per rush were 3.16. Your yards per completion were 31.6. The ratings for the night were 31.6. And the time of possession was 31.6. And during the night, over 90 million people have Googled John 3:16. It's the number one trending thing all over. And I was standing in that hallway, and I don't think I had the reaction that a lot of people think I did, because I went from a high and a celebration and a joy to a conviction and a disappointment.
Why?
Because when he was telling me that, I knew that God was convicting me, saying, Timmy, you thought tonight was about a game. You thought it was about all of these things. It's never just about a game. I didn't die for a game. I knew the truth. I just wasn't focused on it. I was having all of these selfish ambitions and goals. And it was also this reminder, but I can even use it when your heart's not right. I can even use you. I can use something that you did 3 years ago and started 3.5 years ago, and you didn't even know that I was doing something. I also think, that's cool, God, but it's done. And he's like, no, you have no idea what I'm doing. And then I go in there and I'm answering questions, and they're like, wow, what a big coincidence. Something like that to me. And
Coincidence?
Yeah.
That's what they call it?
A few of them on like the side, because they don't even ask it. And I said, well, we could believe it's a really big coincidence, or we could believe that we serve a really big God.
Okay, so I'm going to read you an excerpt from my journal on 11/12/316. Today, I watched this video, referring to this Tim Tebow video, of course, immediately following a story I shared, a testimony from my own life that I was just praying out loud, talking to myself, basically, talking to God as well, about how God uses broken vessels to do great things, and how he used me, a broken vessel. He healed my father's blindness through me. So this is interesting. To make a long story short, my dad's retina had detached in his eye, and I prayed for it. We asked for healing. We prayed for healing for his eye. And immediately his retina reattached and he could see again. He was blind. He was temporarily blind, not completely, but enough so that he couldn't read at all what was on the wall in front of him at my house on the whiteboard. And then after we prayed, actually a few times, 3 times, I want to say, he looked at the board and he could read. And my dad is famously blunt and honest. So I knew he was telling the truth when he was kind of shocked. He said, "I can actually read that now. I 100% couldn't before. It was blurry." All of that. And so anyway, it's an interesting. It was a very, very interesting moment, a very surprising and a moment of synchronicity, a symbolism happens sort of moment, you could say, a miraculous sign sort of moment. And anyways, back to the video, Tebow's message was about how selfish or self-centered he was. Basically, that he felt like he was a broken vessel. Essentially, he was struck at how God used him despite his brokenness, basically his inadequacy. Today, I watched the video I wrote in the journal, and today I just realized is the 316th day of the year. And then I noticed a scripture, the Bible verse, Hebrews. I don't remember what it was now, but it was in the description of the video. It was the only verse, and I read it, and it was something. It had to do with being content, which was something that was something that we were really heavily focusing on at the time, myself and my wife, and so that was interesting as well. So anyway, in this little story, we see a meaningful pattern of 316, both in Tim Tebow's life and my own. Watching this 316 synchronicity or symbolic pattern on day 316 of the year, and 2, a meaningful pattern from my life of praying for God to heal my father's blindness and then immediately seeing his sight restored. We would call that a sign. You could definitely say that that's something of a symbolism happens moment, because what this symbolism is really referring to is the logos at work in creation, the logos in being the logoi as in the inner essence of every particular. So the logos was at work there through the Spirit, the Trinity, the Godhead working together to heal my father's eye.
What do you think?
I don't know. But
3
I mean, the yard thing is kind of crazy. You just gotta wonder if someone fudged the numbers.
What?
You know, if it was like 31.7, you're like, just make it 31.6.
He doesn't.
Do you know what John 3:16 is?
God used you a broken vessel or something for, what does it say?
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. You said John 3:16, right?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like what it was. Isn't that a broken vessel thing?
Well, that's what John 3:16 is.
Huh.
Maybe there's a Mark 3:16.
And a Luke. I mean, isn't there a lot of three? Isn't there a whole bunch?
3:16. These are the 12 he appointed Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter. I'm sure he said John, though, right?
Yeah, he did say John, yeah.
Luke 3:16. John answered them all, I baptize you with water, but one who is more powerful than I will come, the straps of whose sandals I am not worthy to untie. Wow. That's like a old school way of saying I'm a bitch. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. Well, as long as you're playing a clip, then I want to play a clip.
All right.
Back to everybody's favorite Jew, Brett Weinstein. Weinstein? Mossad. I still think.
Well, there is.
I guess there's no reason to blow it up. It's just you and I.
Well, there is.
That's why I bring up God a lot.
Okay, well, hold on. I want to get back to God, but I will just say that there is this increasingly fascinating thread about a recurrent disaster cycle and the possibility that sophisticated civilizations get erased and that we
rediscover.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I, I wish that was a crazy story. It sounds like it should be, but I will say the evidence is far too compelling to dismiss it. So I think we have to be open to that possibility. And, we seem to be heading into one of these catastrophic upheavals, which is something, while we're busy dicking around with climate change, which is not what we're pretending it is, we are not dealing with this.
Who do you think he's watching? Randall or Ben?
He's had, who he's had on the show? He's had the Sun guy on the show.
Ben Davidson?
He's had Ben Davidson on his show, yeah. So he's following Ben for sure.
Probably all of them.
But it's fascinating how much attention this is getting. It really is.
To our civilization and figuring out how to protect ourselves.
And one of many, right? There's natural disasters we're not paying attention to. Others.
Yeah, I've started rushing my presentation almost a little bit because it seems like it's good timing.
3-eye atlas, everybody paid attention to, which is a very weird thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're completely right. And it's we're just such a strange species. What we choose to focus on, we're very bizarre. We're so illogical.
We're squandering the most spectacular conceivable opportunity, and it's tragic that we can't do better. It's sad because we're like that close. We figured out a lot, and we're going to squander it over some kind of stupid game.
Also, I think what a huge disservice to not recognize that this is possibly a rebuilding of civilization, not just the emergence of civilization. And the more they look, the more evidence points in that direction. And the more people push back so hard, they get so angry at the ideas of it.
They sure do.
They get so angry. And every time a new discovery happens, a date gets pushed back, and it gets pushed back again, pushed back again. That, there was Michael Button had a video that he put out about there's some sort of inscriptions and writings on bone that they found in the Americas. I believe it was in Mexico. And it's completely fossilized. And they measured the strata around this, so they get a comparative age of the area. And they're talking about it being 200,000 years old. So that means 200,000 years ago, possibly, if this is correct, there was humans in the Americas.
Right. Which, if you're of a disaster cycle mindset.
How many have we been through?
Right.
Right.
So I guess the point is the fact that humans may have been here 200,000 years ago doesn't affect the story of how the humans that we know of here arrived after the last ice age, for example. So those two things could be true simultaneously.
Of course.
And it's just amazing how small-minded academics are.
So, Graham Hancock was just on Piers Morgan recently again.
Yeah, I seen that, and the first thing it made me think is it's hard to think any of this is organic.
Yeah.
But it's like, when I see it's like, okay, well, Piers is just like the center right guy to try and, what is going on? Because you've seen Fuentes sort of do the rounds, and it could just be an organic sort of lineup, but it does seem weird when I see.
Because they talked about that. They talked about how old fire, they found some evidence of fire being built or used like 300,000 or 400,000 years ago, I think. So it sets everything back again. And Graham said that almost the same quote there.
Yeah.
Like it just keeps getting older and older.
Stuff just keeps getting older. Hey, we need what is getting old is people not supporting the show. We need some people to support the show. It's Christmas. Don't be a Scrooge. I mean, if you can't afford it, it's fine. Just share the shit out of it. That'd be fine too. But we do need some people who support the show from time to time. And we did get some people who answered that call this week. It was a good week for support after my bitching and complaining last week, my pissing and moaning. Where are we? We got $25 from James Campbell. Thank you, James. We got $50 from Michael LaFrance. So thank you, Michael. We got $50 from Michael Frisch.
Thanks. The Michaels come through this week.
The Michaels come through. Oh, yeah. And then we also got $50 from Rachel Midwife Rising.
I think I have a note from her just in case. This is from Rachel. It's so weird that you were going to say that because I was going to read this note. But love you guys. Also was wondering what happened to last week's show. Maybe I missed it, but I listened to the intro and then it disappeared from my feed and started playing an episode from 2013.
Oh, yeah. I deleted it and then re-uploaded it.
So
it should be there now.
Yeah. Keep up the good work. I'm a Plus member too and love the lazy ramblings. So thanks, Rachel. I don't know if that is from your donation, but it sounds like it. Thank you very much for your support.
Yeah, thank you very much. Be like Rachel and the rest of the Michaels and join the crew. Doesn't have to be 50, it could be 5, and we'll still be happy and we'll still love you just as much, and you'll still be a noble in Grimerica on your way to Lord or Lady. Do another clip.
I don't have another clip, though.
I have one. I have another clip.
Oh, do I want another one? Sure. I mean, I could dig one up.
No, this will be.
I always have a folder full of potential clips.
From New York, I boarded a plane to Boston to find Dr. John Trump of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
What?
Dr. Trump was...
Did you catch that name?
John Trump, the guy that got the Tesla files.
Now retired from the company he founded, High Voltage Engineering. But he agreed to meet me at the company office the next morning.
Did you catch the name of the company he
High
founded?
Voltage Engineering?
Yeah.
And he's the one that ended up with the Tesla files? You got to be kidding me.
Spring of 1943, Dr. Carl T. Compton, who was then president of MIT, asked me to go to New York and examine the effects of Nikola Tesla. These were contained in an upper floor of a warehouse somewhere in New York City. And I spent a good deal of time examining one by one the papers, the books, and various other memorials that he had accumulated. But I was particularly looking for something which would be evidence of a secret weapon, which I was reminded by the two agents who were present during the entire time, was a matter of concern to the United States. In the course of this, I did come across a number of letters directed at the upper echelon of the British Empire, that is, I think, to the King and Queen, or perhaps just to the King of England, and also to the Tsar of Russia, explaining that he was the inventor of a secret weapon which had rather remarkable properties, and that he would be interested in entering into a negotiation which would lead to a disclosure of what they were. Of course, I spent a good deal of time looking through these papers, trying to find out what the nature of this secret weapon was. I think I had, although I don't remember it so very accurately, an idea of what its properties were. It had the capability of acting at a great distance, of being destructive to flying objects and things of that kind at a place which was remote from the source. But nowhere in his technical papers did I find anything which revealed an explanation of just how such a device could operate.
I believe that you also opened another box, supposedly a secret weapon that he left at another hotel. Can you relate that story, please?
Yes, when I had substantially concluded my study on the following day, I think that was a Saturday morning, I was reminded by one of the two agents that there was a box being held as a security for an unpaid obligation, and that this bell box was an item of considerable value and may indeed itself be the secret weapon, that it was armed and therefore it probably was not touched.
Were you nervous doing this?
I found it a matter of a bit of concern. However, I realized that this had to be done, and so we taxied down to this hotel. The agents identified themselves and their credentials to the assistant manager of the hotel, who led us to a room. This room was essentially empty except for a table and a steel cabinet against the wall, which was open. I think perhaps he opened it with a key. The cabinet itself was empty, except on one of the lower shelves was a package, a box, a rectangular
music, you know,
box of ordinary size, which was wrapped in brown wrapping paper. It turned out to be a highly polished box with brass clasps, and it looked more like an instrument case. And after waiting a while and listening a while and remembering that it had been there for quite a few years, I think it had actually been there for about 5 years as a security, I opened it. It turned out to be a decade resistance box, manufactured by, I suspect, an American manufacturer, and something of value, but not great value, and certainly nothing ominous at all in its nature.
So after Dr. Tesla had let the world know of his secret weapon, after he had written letters to the King of England and to the Tsar of Russia, offering them this weapon at a time when both were engaged against the Germans in World War II, no evidence or papers were found which referred to any such secret weapon.
My report to Dr. Compton was that I
believe that ultimately all battles, if they should come, will be waged by electrical waves instead of explosives.
saw no danger in releasing these papers and these relics to his heirs.
Miss Musar had arrived too late to know who had opened Dr. Tesla's safe.
Anyway, I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Do you think he was telling the truth about not finding any evidence of the secret weapon?
Not a fucking chance. All sorts of stuff. I mean, and then he goes on to found some electrical company, or maybe he had the electrical company already, right?
I don't know. I thought he worked for the FBI at the time.
That's why they brought him in.
I thought he worked for the government.
Anyway, and now Trump's a billionaire president. I mean, pretty wild.
Buying fusion companies.
Bringing the Trump papers back. Support the show, guys. America.ch/support. Come on a trip with us. Got some great ones this year. Some really good ones. Check them out. contact@thecabin.com. Come to Easter Island with Graham and I and hang out on the island with the Moais. Get your picture taken. That'll be like iconic, right? Can't miss that. Then we got the other one coming up this year is we got a couple random ones people can check out. And then the other one in June is the Solstice Festival, which is going to be a blast over in Ohio. Camping, cheap to get in, all that stuff. We love it. Do you have a bio for Judith, the 60 Ascensioner?
I do, yeah. Let me pull that back up here and see where did it go? I had it open and ready to go. I think playing all these clips got me disorganized. So Judith Corvin-Blackburn, writer, teacher, shamanic minister, and workshop presenter who's been in a private psychotherapy practice for 50 years. She's helped a lot of people, guided them through psychotherapeutic theory for 50 years.
50 years. There you have it.
Website is empoweringthespirit.com, and you can get our book from that website. All the stuff is at the website.
All right, guys. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the chat with Judith.
All right, Judith Corvin-Blackburn, welcome to Gray America. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing?
Okay, cold. You know,
It's a little cold up there, huh?
It's a little cold up here. Lots of snow last night, so I'm going to go out and shovel the road after this.
Yeah, right now I'm in North Carolina. It's 50 degrees, so.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, that's right. You're in quite an interesting area there, aren't you?
Yep, near Cherokee and not far from Asheville.
Yeah. Very spiritual, that area.
You didn't get messed up by that big storm?
We were really lucky. We were just, I think, about 15 miles west. We lost our phone and internet. It came back eventually, you know. So we were very lucky.
So this, I guess we should probably get back, bring some context into this at all. You've been helping people, psychologically, spiritually for many, many years, many decades, actually. So what first drew you to blending this transpersonal psychotherapy with shamanic practices? I think that's probably a good place to start before we get into your latest book, the 6D book.
Yeah. Well, the shamanic practices organically grew out of the transpersonal.
Okay.
So that's just understanding the interconnectedness of how we're all interconnected. The transpersonal, of course, I have a relatively traditional education. It was in the 70s, so nothing was very traditional back then. But I suddenly started, partly because I was doing yoga and reading a book called The Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda. And my whole consciousness started opening up. And as it did that, I really wanted to bring it into my practice in terms of helping people. And what it ultimately evolved, just to synthesize it, it's really about understanding, we come in with this soul essence. We come in with purpose, sometimes many different types of purpose. And then we get conditioned by a very dysfunctional society. And so much of the healing is getting rid of the conditioning, really, so that the person can fully step through.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Have you noticed that change at all in the last decade with computers and social media and the internet and all that? And how has that kind of affected your practice and your outlook?
That has affected a lot, other than COVID, which was kind of a gift to me, got me on doing Zoom, which opened up my work to the world in a way that it hadn't before. While, yes, the internet can exaggerate the programming, the people that come to me kind of know what I'm going to do. And they're typically not beginners. They're typically already along in their healing process. They're generally open spiritually. But what I've seen it's really been 50 years since I've been doing this, is 30 years ago, people would walk into my office and they wouldn't be on medication. And they wouldn't need to go on medication because we could do the work. That became very rare. Now, I will say probably in the last 5 years, people that come to me are on less or none medication. But there was a period where I had to help people, who needed to or wanted to get off medication. Because a lot of not all of it's unnecessary, but in terms to help people functioning. But much of it is unneeded if you do the work.
Wow. So what do you attribute the change in the last few years with less people?
Well, that's an interesting question, Graham, because it may be simply that the people that come to me have already figured it out. So, it's not like I can do a big study and say, it's this way or that way. So I don't know that there are less people on medication. There may well be more people, but they're not who I see typically.
Right. I mean, maybe the internet opened you up to people that need you that are already kind of like predisposed to see you anyways. Whereas before, you were seeing people that needed help either way. So yeah, you would have to kind of coach them off of some things during the process.
Well, because mostly they didn't need it. And when people come to me, again, typically they're not in what I would call need. They're in want, okay? They're wanting to get more free. They're wanting to move through old patterns that are still impacting them to some degree. They're wanting to move into more of their own evolution. So, I have a unique group of people, essentially.
Can you describe a little bit about what a standard kind of like, or what a sort of normal, meeting or process would look like how you would help somebody through all that?
Okay, well, I start out obviously figuring out what people are looking for. What is it that drew them to me? A lot of times these days it's my books, which I've written 4 books, but the last 3 books are really very spiritual. The first one was more of a self-help book from a spiritual perspective, but that was a self-published and not widely circulated. So people already kind of know who I am and what they can expect. And then what I really do is help people clear their emotional field. We have physical body, we have an emotional body, we have a mental body, and a spiritual body. My typical client will already have the insight, which is the mental body, and also typically be pretty spiritually open. So most of the work has to do with releasing old emotional, what's the word? It's sort of we get clogged up emotionally, so that we can shine through.
Blockages, kind of emotional blockages?
That's great. That's a great word for it, yes. And I use astrology sometime. I use a lot of intuition and guidance. One of the ways I work is that I'm very, I'm kinesthetic and I'm I've lost the word, but basically I can feel people's feelings. Clairsentient was the word I was looking for. So that I can't tell you, if you're in a session with me, I can tell you if you have anger coming up or sadness or fear. I can't tell you why. You have to tell me that. But we can work with it. And when I feel it release, I know you're on it. So that's another experience people have.
Yeah.
Is that the one where they the other one? Is that where they try and pull your fingers apart?
I don't even know about that one.
Isn't that kinesiology where they?
Oh, yes. Well, that's something more like a chiropractor would do. What you're talking about doing this, and no, that's not what I mean. This is clairsentient, which means I feel it in my body. The kinesthetic piece is that I feel it in my body. And so some people are clairaudient, they get auditory messages, which I do sometimes. And some are clairvoyant, where you get visual messages.
Yeah.
So this way you just get a feeling? Is it just like a good feeling or a bad feeling, or how does that sort of manifest?
I can usually tell what the feeling is, because I know if I feel a certain level of tension, for instance, in my shoulders, that's typically anger. And of course, this is a dialogue, it's an exchange. So that each session is going to be very unique. The other thing I do is I do a lot of guided visualization. So I help people go in and really connect with their own inner wisdom and what I would call their own inner healer. So it's not just talk, we talk, but it's really more tuning in.
Can you give us an example of that? I mean, it's one of your sort of guided meditations or your tools for activation, that kind of thing.
Well, they're in my individual sessions. They are very individualized, right? I have a YouTube channel where I do, and my books all have guided meditations. But the one that I always start with if I'm doing a presentation is helping people tune in to their heart. Because what really transforms us is opening that heart up. Our heart's closed because we go through different levels of trauma. And it's a protective mechanism. And as we find new ways to protect ourselves that don't mean having to close our heart, life changes. Let's put it that way. Relationship changes. We feel different.
Yeah, it reminded me of when Darren mentioned that kinesiology. I have this picture of a place where I used to live. And when we talked about back in that episode, when we talked about everything being love and focusing on the heart, when you mentioned that, I was like brought back to that place that I used to live in. It reminded me of the episode that Darren actually mentioned about the kinesiology, which is interesting. So what role does the Ka body or like the soul's energetic blueprint play in this?
Well, my work is, whether it's through teaching, writing, or through the therapy I offer, is to help people. The Ka body is really our soul's blueprint. It is other dimensional. From the theory I use, it resides in the sixth dimension, which physicists consider the quantum field. And it's just energy. It's very high vibrational physical, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Right? It's not physical like, my computer desk arm kind of thing. But it is our idealized blueprint. And I believe we're designed to be able to really merge with that blueprint as a way to live. And that in very ancient times, way before what we call history, people were living in, this is a 5D, 6D frequency. And since then, probably the last 10, 12,000 years, much of our DNA got shut down. So we've been disconnected. So as we open more, we can reconnect with the Ka, which comes from the very ancient Egyptians before the pharaohs. And that idea, I think it probably came from Atlantis and from star civilizations. But, and then we're operating at full tilt, right? We're at our full potential.
Now I have so many questions.
What caused the DNA to shut down?
Yeah.
Well, that's an important question. I don't know we have a definitive answer. I don't know if you're familiar with Barbara Hand Clow's work.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, and her work has been really foundational for me. And she wrote a book. I've read many of her books, but I haven't read this book, but I know the theory, which is, I think she called it catastrophobia. That 10, 12,000, 13,000 years maybe, there was a cataclysmic trauma geologically on the planet. And if you know at all about what we believe to be the history of Atlantis, that was when Atlantis really went down and people were thrown into chaos. And, it's hard to say. I think that many indigenous tribes really came from Lemuria and Atlantis and were able to figure out how to live very simply, but also keep some of the higher consciousness. And then you had societies like Egypt was one of the societies that really and the legend is that Thoth came from Atlantis to teach the Egyptians. So they were carrying out a lot of the information that the Atlanteans had. But they also devolved. I saw that. I was in Egypt in 2005. And it's an amazing place. And we were very lucky. in the sense that the people, the tour that we were on, it was a shamanic journey, had a lot of connections in Egypt. And so we were able to get into the temples early in the morning before other tourists and do meditative kinds of things in there. But what I noticed, even with the hieroglyphs, is that as the society devolved, the hieroglyphs got more complex. And the reason I believe that to be true is that when you're at a certain level of development, when those DNA strands are open, you can communicate telepathically. It was just normal. As those closed down, people needed more complexity to try to figure out. We became more left-brained.
That kind of makes sense to me because so many cultures all over the world seem to signal or try and warn about floods or cataclysms. Like it seems like it was really an inherent part of our growing up. Over the last, since you mentioned that, over the last so many thousands of years. Yeah, we were in, or Darren at least took a group of people around the Azores, looking for Atlantis in a way, like Azores being the place for Atlantis with Randall Carlson. So we always talk about this cataclysm type thing. And there's also the different cycles of cataclysm that seem to be here and we might be going through one now too, which is interesting because maybe that's some of the reason why stuff is getting the way it is and it seems to be accelerating so much. Maybe people's genetic memory or ancient sort of ancestral trauma is coming out again.
I do think that's a piece of it. There's so many levels to our psyche, and simultaneously we're in a time of enormous change. My perception is that the craziness, the suffering that's going on is the old paradigm refusing to die easily. And simultaneously, if you experience people other than on the news, or you're not in conventional news per se, people are waking up all over the globe. I love it. I have students from all over, and it's very exciting to see people really reclaiming who they are and not getting thrown off by what we see on the planet right now, and certainly in the U.S. So we'll see. This is a really interesting time. It can be a really exciting time, but it's a time of great change.
I just read an interesting post yesterday that also talks about the opposite of that happening, where spiritual people are sort of disappearing, like disengaging almost. As they wake up, they go through a process, the hermit process, where they kind of like go into this kind of almost like a shell, because it's hard to be around everything that's a lie and all the people that are just kind of going along with this and that. So have you seen that increase at all lately as well?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think one of the things we're being asked to do, which is not easy, is to be able to hold it, as you move into your higher dimensional frequencies, as more DNA opens, to understand, to hold everything in compassion, including what we disagree with, and to to understand this is also an inside job. We carry a lot of the dysfunction sort of archetypically inside of us, so that working on those parts of us, because we're holographic, which is a whole other conversation, affects everything. And, whether there's going to be a dimensional split, I don't know, where some people will choose to just keep going in that old suffering, separation consciousness. But I feel like we're really at the early stages of this great transformation. And if we manage not to destroy the planet, I do believe we'll get, in time, I do believe we'll get there.
What does a split look like?
Well, it is, as you move into your own higher frequency and you're vibrating more quickly, you become more filled with light. And I don't know, if you could stand back and see both frequencies, sort of watching it as a movie, which when you ask that question, what does it look like? I think that you would see almost like veils lifting. And some folks are operating in a much denser way where they are still in, for lack of a better way to say it right now, an old paradigm view of the world. And other people don't have much connection with that. They're creating a new world. So
Seems like that's already happened on some level.
well, that's interesting, Dan. Like, give me an example so that I have a sense of what you're seeing, so I can respond to it.
Well, I mean, it
Be
seems,
careful.
yeah, it seems like we've been living in multiple dimensions for a little while, and then you could even add to that probably the third dimension of the people that have just sort of checked out or are engaging with it from a like entertainment level only at this point. So you've got, I mean, some people that are still all in. I mean, whatever the current paradigm, current government, current ruling structure says, which in some ways almost seems like a backpedal from where we were 25 years ago. And then you've got other people, the category I'd put at least Graham and myself in, where we've just sort of checked out of society. We're not entertaining the job market anymore. We're just fucking not interested. And then you got other people ahead of us that are not interested and not even talking about it anymore. You'd never even know they're not interested.
That's great. Yes. Certainly that's what I see as well. But there are many people that there's been a lot of opening in the last few years. So that a lot more people are open to this view, and they're very, you guys do this, I'm sure, because you want to get some word out. You want people to open and think. And so it's interesting to not even talk about it. That sounds interesting, for lack of a better one. They're really interesting. However, it also, so many need to hear, one, that they're not alone, that there is this whole global movement, and they don't need to get stuck in essentially the 3D movie.
What about 4D and 5D? Are we just skipping those, or are those existing somewhere else? Like what is the separation between, I guess, where we are now, which is 3D, 4 if you consider time, and then 5D, and then into 6D. People are always saying Trump's playing 5D chess. I don't even know really what that means. I've only played 3D chess.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's playing. I'd have to ponder that for a minute, but people can be manipulated in many ways, and I think a lot of the 5D words have been being used as part of the manipulation. But your question's really important. I believe that we have been, with that DNA shutdown, operating in 3D and 4D. 3D is very physical, as we know. 4D is more of a mental dimension where all the archetypes hang out, so to speak, but it's also where our emotional patterns hang out. So if we haven't worked through our emotional traumas, what happens is that dimension gets clouded and it blocks the higher dimensional frequencies coming in. And so clearing you're asking what I did, Graham. Well, helping people clear that 4D gunk so that the higher dimensions can come in. And I believe what we're doing is moving into being 5D, 6D humans. And again, I believe we're designed. So they're kind of parallel dimensions. In 5D, the primary characteristics are unconditional love of self and others. So that's compassion, unity consciousness, to understand everything is interconnected. We're all connected to each other and to everything. So what harms somebody else really harms me too, even if think I'm protecting myself on some level. And when we understand that, we're going to stop that behavior. And then unbridled creativity. So we have all sorts of inspiration at our fingertips to create new and expand. 60 is really where we create from, where we get things to manifest in the physical, how it manifests in 3D, but it's also how it manifests in 5D. And that's kind of a deep topic to explain, but that's what I talk about in my the 60 Ascension journey, that we're creators. And we've always been creating our reality. It's just for the last 10, 12, 13,000 years, we've been creating it unconsciously. And when we allow that awareness to come through and allow ourselves to take responsibility, not in a self-deprecating way, or a judgmental way, but simply in an observing way. Okay, so I've created this in my life. How does it serve me? How can I transform it? That kind of thing. And as we understand that more and more and learn to work with those energies, then it's going to be a lot easier to create a very loving, peaceful world where everyone can thrive. All beings, not just humans.
And part of that process would be reactivating our dormant or blocked DNA.
That's what I believe, Graham. I think that the DNA is opening anyway for many people many may not even know it, and which might create fear, which may make them want to, if we just look at what's going on with the authoritarianism that's popping up from the United States to other places in the world, I believe it's because people are so imagining magically somebody else can come in and take care of business, and that they'll be the ones that are okay. It doesn't matter if people that they perceive as different from them aren't okay. Yeah. It's a real kind of survival piece. And of course, it's not going to work. It's, it can cause a lot of damage and a lot of suffering, but it's not going to get anybody anywhere. As we go into the higher frequencies and we're willing to take responsibility, then we can create a very different place. But understanding we're part of that creative process. It's not going to come from outside.
How did you incorporate your I love the term geometric vision. Like the sacred geometry is included in this process, which is fascinating for us because we've had Randall Carlson on a lot. We've talked about sacred geometry a lot, where I used to think it was kind of like hooey. And then when I really dug into it, I'm like, holy, it's all connected. There's all these sacred numbers that are repeating over and over again. And it combines, it corresponds to time and time being sacred and all these things. And I remember we had a guest on years ago that was talking about the dodecahedron. And the dodecahedron is one of my favorite shapes, and how powerful the visualization of a dodecahedron is. Just even like in affecting plants and stuff in your home. So maybe you can expand on that part of the process.
Yes, and I am not an expert on sacred geometry. When I felt that when this book started coming through, I had to really learn a lot. And the dodecahedron is, of course, the most sacred of the Platonic solids, and was by the ancient mystery schools banned from the populace. It was considered only the priests and priestesses, essentially, were evolved enough to manage the energy because it's so powerful.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's really neat that you're working with it, Graham. It's just, what we would really consider magical. It's how everything is so interconnected in these patterns. And as you say, these number sequences, and how there's a great show on Gaia. I can't remember the name anymore, but one of the things I really got from that is this is how we communicate with the cosmos, because it's not just our little dimensional ascent. It is in the universe and multiverse. It's that universal language. And it just comes through frequency. That's why you can understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about the hieroglyphs getting more complex.
Yeah.
Because we lost our ability to just work with frequency.
Yeah, things were simpler. And because like you said about the indigenous cultures, they kept it simple, right? So it's kind of like that. They have the spiritual awareness and the intuitiveness and all that, but they also kept it all simple. Whereas things got sort of the technology that came from Atlantis, it seemed to, get degrade after time. I mean, I often wonder what happened there. If there was another collapse after that, that started the devolution of the West, or Egypt and the West,
Yeah, I mean, these are mysteries we're just beginning to uncover.
Yeah.
I think that people are getting flashes, and the stories are probably not all going to be consistent, but they'll be enough to begin to lead us forward. The good news is we know, basically everything we've been told about ancient history is not accurate.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Can technology and this sort of thing, can they coexist? I mean, it seems like,
can it help us?
The more tech we get, the more sort of totalitarian and authoritarian the world seems to trickle.
Yeah, that's a really great question, Darren. And if you had asked me a month ago, I would have said, yeah, we can create this technology based on frequency it's different than the technology. We're really technological babies compared to where Atlantis was. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the African shaman, Credo Mutwa, who talked about, he's from the Bush tribe and another famous tribe, and I can't remember the name of it. But he talked about his ancestors 100,000 years ago had technology that makes us look like we're in kindergarten. So, we just don't have those connections to understand this yet. On one hand, I think we can get higher frequency technology, but it also seems to be connected with why Atlantis fell. At least it supposedly fell 3 times, at least the second time. And I've just read a very interesting interview with an ecologist who's saying, we're going to have to let go of certainly using any kind of non-renewable things. And what we consider renewable, you have to use fossil fuels to make them. So where are we going with this? We're clearly overpopulated. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting journey.
So what you mentioned a month ago. So what happened between?
I read the article. I read the article.
Okay.
Just reading the interview, and I've been really thinking about it.
Yeah, it's hard to trust what's renewable and what's not either, because I don't trust the people that are sort of selling their carbon credits and trying to take us, down the authoritarian road that way. Kind of virtue signaling about the environment. And I'm like, well, those windmills aren't really. The calculations aren't really showing that they're helping very much. There's a lot of arguments we're not allowed to really have right now about some of this stuff. So.
Yeah, and it's tricky. I mean, I certainly think solar and wind are better than gas and oil. But again, I think if we view it from the part that we are early on, things are going to divide up. Who's going to be in charge? Are the people, the collective, that say, hey, we've got to honor the earth. We're connected to the earth. She's connected to us. How can we all have a comfortable but not excessive life without doing harm? And no doubt there's a way. I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I think my view on it is we have to go through the next sort of, I don't think transition is the right word, but attempt. Like we're going to have to learn to live with technology and the planet and all that. And it's going to get pretty nasty for a bit, I think, but then I think we'll come through on the other side. And I think that the people will push back enough eventually that's like, okay, we're going to have this technology here, but you can't use it to control us, that kind of thing. I really do think we'll come out ahead, but I just think there's going to be a few attempts at control, and it's going to be a bit nasty at first, I think.
Well, it may well get nastier. We kept thinking it had hit bottom and then it gets nastier. But I do believe that people that really are empowered are not controlled, that will not allow themselves to be controlled. Technology, we have the ability to not fall into mind control, even energetic control. If you know who you are, you've released a lot of old stuff and can stand in your own sacredness. And also, again, this is not just an individualized journey, even though as individuals we need to do the work. There's a huge collective movement. And when we hold, and this is where 6D comes in, what manifests in the physical is kind of like what images get the most social media hits. So if enough of us are really seeing a world that's just and peaceful and respectful and everything can thrive, we'll get it. However, we're complex and we're still holding those old beliefs. And if they're unconscious, they can be really strong. So part of the process I think that we're in, and what I'll call the ascension journey, is to bring those into consciousness so we can transform them. And so while things might have looked better 25 years ago, there was still all this stuff under the rug.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, at least it's coming up.
Well, so, I gotta mention, I mean, I really appreciate what you're saying. And I agree, but there's the annoying freedom, right? There's that annoying freedom that's kind of, because I kind of have a bit of a nuanced view that you can have that, but you can also have freedom. Like there's got to be a bit of a compromise on, like, if I say hurty words to you, like, or if let's say if somebody chooses to be offended, like that kind of has to fall out of the equation in a way, because like I should have the spiritual, I don't know what to use.
Autonomy.
Kind of, but more of like experience or discernment to be like, okay, like you can call me whatever name you want. Like that's you. That's not me. So being offended is not included in that calculation. Like that's where I would come from.
Mm-hmm.
I have the freedom. I could be offended if I want, but I mean, it shouldn't affect that person's right to call me a name or something. So, I mean, it's rude, but I think there's too much name and there's too much name calling right now. And I agree with the compassion thing. I think that's the most important thing, is like this unconditional love, even for our enemies, like Jesus said.
Right.
I mean, I've been trying to practice that, and it seems to have changed my attitude a little bit. But it's that freedom that there's also the thought that, like, if we were free and not and free from kind of corruption as well. So I don't mean free to corrupt, and free as in capitalism is free to like just wreck the world. Like not that kind of freedom. I'm talking about our autonomy, and that innovation will happen, stuff will happen that is good for the world, as long as there's not this like corporate and governmental corruption. So how do you reconcile that kind of thought process with the whole, like, like, let's be loving and compassionate to everybody without hurting anybody's feelings?
Well, that doesn't mean not speaking what you see. Just like you said, Graham, it is when you're empowered, it doesn't impact you, because you know that it's not about you. We're all in this together, but it doesn't need to be personal.
Yeah, exactly.
And as we get healthier and healthier, we won't take things personally. We'll know how to work through that. Or if we get triggered, we know what to do. Because again, we're not going to be perfect. We're going to just do the best. But if we really understand how interconnected we are, then self-servingness goes away, which is what's causing corporate greed and as well as people being totally manipulated against what's good for them, which is fascinating. I do believe that will just recede. Again, whether it'll just exist on a different plane, possibly, but I do think it will recede because more and more people are waking up. And yes, you can use you can try to manipulate people into thinking woke is bad, which is also fascinating. How can it be bad to wake up and see what's going on? And that's could get worse.
Well, woke and awake are different things.
Well, yes and no. Depending on how you want to use it. But in any way, for instance, the United States does not have health care for everybody, universal health care. And we're the only developed country that doesn't have universal health care.
Yeah.
People here have been made to believe it's un-American.
Well, we're made to believe something else in Canada. We're made to believe that life might not be worth living. If we have thousands of people dying on waiting lists, so we have our own problems.
Yes, well,
and I don't like your healthcare either. But like, it's not all rosy up north above the border. Believe me. So
it's just to get out of the mindset of healthcare for profit. I'm not saying there's not bureaucratic craziness everywhere. If we could get localized, which I think is what's going to happen.
Yeah, something's got to change.
Right, where you have resources within a relatively small geographic area. It doesn't mean you don't interconnect with other areas, but it means smaller areas can be more self-sufficient, have healing centers.
I love it. Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day, like, because I had to go to the hospital, and it has been so long since I've been. I'm like, oh my God, like this is just a terrible experience. I mean, it was good. The people were good and everything. Like it was an okay experience, to be honest. But I was thinking about the healing centers and the old temples back in the day, like where you should be able to kind of get maybe a massage and some traditional healing, but everything is so allopathic now. Like it's all just so scientific and kind of gross,
To the point of executing people. I mean, that's where we're at now. We're just killing people in Canada because we're not willing to do the same procedures that they can get in the US. So, I mean, we've literally got people that our government has condemned to death and offered to kill through medical assistance and dying that are dealing with totally treatable diseases.
Huh. Well, that's news to me. Okay.
And now we're about to expand that to mental health patients and children so that children can get themselves executed without ever telling their parents about it.
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, we're at the point now where 5% of deaths are now caused by government medical assistance and dying, which is basically the government shooting you up with some shit and then you die. And then, they've and now we're at the point where physicians are recommending it to people. They're like, well, have you considered, killing yourself? We can't help you. And the waiting list is so long for any of these procedures, or they're not approved by our healthcare system. So you can't get that on. That's experimental, or that's this or that. You just can't get it. But what you can get is you can wait 3 years for an appointment, even though you're in pain every day, or we can just kill you today.
Well, okay. I would rephrase it, Darren. Or we can give you the option to check out today. But I hear your frustration. One of the things I write about is how to use sacred geometry in architecture. So imagine if you walked into a hospital that was based on sacred geometry. We probably wouldn't call it hospital, but what we look for now. So that just walking in itself becomes healing.
That's a great idea.
That healing energy.
Yeah.
Right. That we had schools like that. This is, these are the images I believe we all need to hold. I think what you both are experiencing in terms of the Canadian healthcare system is all the old ways don't work.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great idea. I've been thinking about that sacred geometry and architecture, even people just being able to build their homes or buy plans that are based on this type of stuff. And yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can do a little of it without, going full tilt. Everybody can do a little in their homes, even in very urban areas. You can, I talk a bit about that as well.
I guess that is the one sort of advantage that your system has over us is you can do that kind of stuff still inside of it. Like in Canada, that's illegal. That's like illegal. Any step outside of their system is like not okay. The government is paying all the bills, so it's like we're not allowed to deviate from our.
And have the government pay for it.
Yeah, whereas so we're not allowed. Like a physician can't do certain things. Like we couldn't do like this sort of localized system that you're talking about. That would be great. They've sort of insulated themselves against that here, so that a doctor will lose his license we had during COVID an epidemic of doctors losing their license for not following the state mandated protocol, which was, one thing.
And we couldn't we didn't have any option of going to let's say for a vitamin drip or go down for they were all shut down, right? There was no, you couldn't go to, you guys had a,
we're not allowed private stuff in Canada, that sort of thing. I live in Alberta where it's sort of infiltrated a little bit, but we've got this system here where it's like, there's not really an avenue for any of that sort of stuff. Any of that sort of stuff right now is already happening outside of the main healthcare system through weird sort of workarounds. It's not going to be covered by the system. It's not going to be covered from insurance. And there's going to be a hard limit on what they can do. For example, during COVID, it was just as simple as if you did anything but prescribe remdesivir, that you lost your license, period. You couldn't, if you'd started giving your patients any advice outside of, I think it was remdesivir, then forget it. That's not on the table. It's not an option. You lose your license and you lose your ability to practice medicine in Canada.
Okay. So if this is pervasive, where is the mass movement to say, wait a minute?
Well, the media is bought and paid for by the government, so the Canadians don't know. They don't pay attention to what's going on. I mean, this is why we're in a bit of a different situation. This is kind of why we appreciate the freedom and the feeling of freedom in America, because we know there's lots of problems down there, but up here it feels totalitarian, right? The West is collapsing, Canada along with it, Canada at the head of it. There's not one metric in the West, in Canada, that's doing good right now. And the people are not, they're Darren and I have resigned ourselves. That's kind of when we talked about checking out and all that kind of stuff. There's so many people that are just going to go along with whatever the system tells them to do, whatever the government and the media tell them to do. That's it. So there's no mechanism for change in Canada at all. We're just going to slowly collapse into another culture and another country.
And we're gearing up to ban social media companies. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
I'm okay with it. I'm watching it with fascination. I'm not getting I'm trying not to get resentful. I'm looking at it in a different way. But this is a point of view that you're not going to see on the media. You're not going to see it. Even Americans won't talk about it. It's different, right?
That is different. At the same time, it's not different, because what's going on here is not all that different. Yes, maybe doctors have more ability to talk about herbal treatments, those kinds of things. But the system here is not working either. And when you have medicine for profit, you really start messing things up. And that's happened more and more, probably in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest misunderstanding about Canadian healthcare, is assuming that people, I'm not saying you, but people assume it's not for profit. But I can assure you that there are tons of people making billions of dollars every year. Just, I'm just not paying for it. My tax dollars are, but it's just like a no bid system for medical beds, for Band-Aids. So you start breaking down like what the taxpayers getting charged for a Band-Aid is like $37.50 to get a band. So there's just this whole, so it's like we're almost stuck in the same system as you are.
Yeah.
But they've managed to figure, and this is sort of the thing you got to watch out for with the universal healthcare, is they've managed to trick us into thinking that just because we're not paying for it every month, it's just coming it's just coming out of our taxes. They say like I think 45% of every tax dollar I pay goes to my healthcare.
Well,
50%.
you wanted to go to the Department of War in the United States. I mean, this.
But that's sort of the trick they play, is because I'm not paying for it, I don't even realize. And I guess it's the same with you guys, but it's the insurance companies. So you do realize it when you go there and you don't have insurance. I don't really have that realization at any point. Now, the realization will be when I want to get some sort of thing that I can't get because it's not approved here, because it's not cost effective to the people who are making the money. But we'll never really have that uproar because you've got, but I mean, you could count on one hand the companies that are supplying all of the medical supplies to the government, and they're not public companies. They're very much private companies like Stryker and Medibed and these other companies. There's like 5 or 6 of them that have now completely overtaken our medical system, and now they can just charge whatever they want.
Well,
So
don't forget,
pharma aren't making any money. The nurses aren't making fuck all. But Stryker and these other major companies that have made backroom deals with our medical government system are making billions over billions in a completely no bid system that most
So
Canadians
it
don't
really, in
even
many
know
ways,
exists.
profit, even though it's publicly. And I see the mystification. I hear what you're saying.
So it almost makes it worse, because then we have to listen to all these people all around the world talk about how we're the fucking pinnacle of healthcare. And it's like, man, I can't get an MRI for 9 months. That might be too long for some people. They might be fucking dead.
Right.
So it's like this, that's a good word for it, mystification. They've sort of mystified the thing into thinking we've got this universal socialist utopia, but it's it's the exact same thing as yours, except they're like, hey, instead of having these fights, just add 20% more to the taxes and we'll just do it all in the background, and they'll just shut the fuck up.
And pharma still pays the government too. Big pharma still pays the government. And that changed, I think, 9 years ago or something, where there was another mechanism for pharma to insert their money into our government healthcare. And the problem is people call it free, right? Oh, the Canada's free healthcare. Well, it's not free, for one thing. So
it's funny. The one thing they don't pay for is pharma. It's like pharma's like, no, because the Canadian government's going to try and whittle pharma down into how much they can charge for certain things. So that's just one of those things that then has to end up outside the system, that now you have to have additional insurance through work or through whatever if you want to have your drugs covered.
Oh yeah, right. I see.
That's honestly where you run into the biggest sort of problem, is because we don't have any sort of drug coverage. I think they try to say they just introduced one, but that was for like type 2 diabetes medication and birth control for people. And that's the only 2 things they made universal. So this is where the real problem comes in, is because now they're so any of these medications, so that's where people get into real trouble, where they get on some medication that'll keep them alive for better or for worse, or how they got there. But people get into these situations. There's a medication that'll keep them alive, but it costs this much a month. And in the States, that'll ruin people. It will ruin people. I'll admit that. Maybe they can make a deal with them in the back room or get it for a little cheaper or whatever they can do. Whereas in Canada, it's just not an option. It's fucking off the table. It's not available here. It's just a complete. Whereas I'm not saying it should cost 20 grand, but I mean, if the option is come up with 20 grand or be resigned to death, it's like, well, I'd rather take my chances at coming up with this money.
And I think in many ways we have to bypass all of that.
Yeah,
this is where, one thing that happened in the States, I don't know if it's been effective in Canada, but again, it's a different system. But and this happened about 25 years ago, they did a survey and found out most people were interested in alternative medicine and doing herbal kinds of things and chiropractic and acupuncture, etc. And then the medical schools had started introducing herbology. So it expanded that way. But it would be good, essentially, to have, I do think we're going to see alternative systems becoming more and more popular. And how totalitarian can government stop it? I suppose. But that's disintegrating too. So I wouldn't worry about that. I would just move toward what we can.
That's probably the last hope, is that the government is disintegrating. And that's kind of what I think too. It seems like the idiocracy has got to the government, and Atlas Shrugged is inevitable. And it seems like we'll get another chance I would say right now it's a coin toss, but we might get a chance to start building a new system without a revolution, because if revolution gets in the way, then I don't think any new system ever gets built. We just sort of go back to, it'll start with some cool stuff, but it'll eventually degrade to sticks and stones.
So it is, if we're going to raise consciousness fast enough, really.
And the people that go to see you and that sort of type of healing you do, I think that helps, because less people need the hospital. Really, if you're, keeping people off of medication and doing this stuff, and they're healing their inner child and all this kind of stuff, which is, all this trauma-based stuff, I think it's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially here, because it's like, for us, the hospital is just, for most people, the hospital is not really a viable option. And it's very good if you get in a car accident, you break your leg, you fall off a ladder, they'll get you there and they'll get you sorted out. But if for anything sort of systemic, it's the exact same as yours. It's just, here's your drugs, take them or shut up.
Yeah. Okay. So
I think the real difference is we just have one insurance company.
Yeah.
And that's the government.
Again, I think we have to come in from very new places. We can see what doesn't work. And I do think, there's lots of brilliance around. And these young people that are coming in and coming up in the world are holding a new level of consciousness as well. And so, yes, sure, it's okay to have your anger or whatever you need to at what doesn't work, and then to move forward.
Yeah,
and
manifest what's going to work. Yeah, manifest the new healing center, the healing temple. Yeah, I like it. So, give us some more hints on how to do that. Buy your book, of course, but
well, what I'm doing is giving people ideas, inspiration, images, and also every chapter at the end of both, actually in all my books, but especially in Activating Your 5D Frequency and the 6D Ascension Journey, is to help people go in and do some of that healing themselves. And also to visualize a new world. I feel really strongly about this. If we're going to create New Earth, we need to hold those visions and talk about the visions. Yeah, we can gripe and we can say, hey, this is what doesn't work. But if you really want change, it's holding visions. So, yeah, let's create architecture. I'm sure they had it in Atlantis. I know many of the advanced star civilizations work with this. And we have the templates in our cellular memory. Imagine schools based on sacred geometry. Imagine, I think we'll get rid of prisons, but if you have to create some sort of detention for people, imagine that based on sacred geometry. We want to heal, inspire, in order to transform people into their best selves.
I like it.
Judith, this has been great. Where can people get the book? Where can they follow their work? Maybe where can they book an appointment? We'll put it all in the show notes, but a lot of people, it's best to mention it here as well.
Okay. Well, my book is available on Amazon and all of the sites. Inner Traditions, the publisher, it's a great publisher. But the best way really is to go to my website, which is called empoweringthespirit.com. And you can find out answers to all those questions.
Excellent. Perfect. Thanks for coming to the show, Judith. We hope you have a wonderful day down there in much warmer than here, North Carolina.
All right, you guys. Yeah. Well, stay as warm as you can. It was great to meet you both. And
You too.
here's to holding those visions.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Bye.
And that was our chat with Judith Corvin-Blackburn, the 6D Ascension Journey. Fun one. What'd you think?
Good. Yeah, it was interesting. I've got a link in the show notes to that. You can go to her YouTube channel from her website there too. So
people check out the YouTube channel, of course, buy the book. Big thanks to Judith for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks if you're one of the few who choose to support us over at grimerica.ca/support. I think we're at almost 750 episodes now, all without ads and any bull crap, paywalls. And if you like that, head over to grimerica.ca/support, sign up for a monthly or make a one-time donation, and we can keep doing it. While you're there, check out adultbrain.ca for the audiobooks, grimericaoutlaw.ca for the controversial content, contact@thecabin.com for trips and events, and grimericacbd.com for gummies and tinctures and all that good stuff. Other than that, we love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Season's greetings from the Grimerica Show podcast. Gather around the fireplace, help yourself to some hot cocoa with a little marshmallows in it, maybe have a candy cane or two, and maybe some cookies. It's so warm and jolly. Cry Merry Christmas. Podcasting from the igloo. Darren plays jingle bells on the didgeridoo. And over there, that's Graham crying tears of joy as he listens in on the little drummer boy. Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. I see you've acquainted yourself with D-Ron. Yeah, it's true, he pops Christmas trees up medicinal. Wait a second, is that? Yeah, I think that's Sasquatch beneath the mistletoe.
Get over here, Graham. Thank you for saving me and give me a kiss.
And it looks like Napoleon Doom is decorating the room with tinsels, ribbon, popcorn on strings, and poinsettias. They are in bloom. And you might ask, who's that in the green and red Lucha Libre mask? Why, of course, that's RPJ. Feliz Navidad. It's so warm and jolly. Cry Merry Christmas. Podcasting from the igloo. Darren plays jingle bells on the didgeridoo. And over there, that's Graham crying tears of joy as he listens in on the little drummer boy. Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. You'll get a warm and fuzzy feeling if you donate to the Grimerica Show. So get in the spirit, reach down in your pocket and make it rain. Let it snow, make it snow, let it snow, let it snow, make it snow. Donate to the show. Donate to the show. Donate to the show. It's so warm and jolly. Cry Merry Christmas. Podcasting from the igloo. Darren plays jingle bells on the didgeridoo. And over there, that's Graham crying tears of joy as he listens in on the little drummer boy. Pa-rum-pa-pum.